In New Zealand, we have from the Ministry of Education our new website that has all the resources and materials and opportunities for developing teaching and learning programs across the curriculum, across the year levels. And it's called Tahurangi. And sometimes Tahurangi can be difficult to navigate. And so what I tend to do when I jump onto Tahurangi is I look at what is usually a grey box where my mouse is spinning now, and you can see it on your screen as a grey box. And there's the download resources section. So I normally just jump on here and I click that straight away to see what resources are available to download. And we in New Zealand use a structured approach to teaching mathematics and statistics. And the structured approach rolls out across all learning areas as each new curriculum is finalized. So on Tahurangi here with the structured approaches to mathematics, as you can see on the screen, if I scroll down, it gives us our big four, which is explicit teaching, communication, positive relationships with maths, and rich tasks. So in terms of mathematics, these are the four key areas that we need to be planning for, resourcing for, teaching to, and then reporting on as well to make sure that over the year, every student receives explicit teaching. We're focusing on developing and emulating a positive relationship with maths. We're using rich tasks for students to move from consolidating in the independent practice phase to proficient, and using communication skills that are increasingly sophisticated. So students are demonstrating their understanding, whether they are justifying, explaining, connecting different ideas into novel concepts. These are really important. So from here, what I've done is I'm going to look at from year 7 to 8, you notice there's little menus on the page where we can click to see different sections. From year 7 and 8, and from year 4 to 6, if I click on explicit teaching, the definition or explanation of explicit teaching becomes more complex as students move through the phases. So phase 1, year 0 to 3, our first 6 months to the third year, and then phase 2, phase 3, and phase 4. Now, what I'm going to do is just look at phase 4, but I'm now going to look at mathematics and how do we use Gemini Gems to create an AI assistant that can draft teaching and learning plans for us so that then we can focus on quality assurance. So as a classroom teacher, I'm responsible for the quality of what happens in my classroom. And so everything I might produce with AI, I need to be focused on quality assurance, okay? So what I've done is I've taken the explicit teaching guidance here, and I've created a text file so I can upload that into Gemini Gems so it's consistently referenced. I've also taken the New Zealand curriculum from Tahurangi, downloaded it as a PDF, so it's there as a guide and a reference for Gemini. And also, I've got the 5 progress descriptors. Why? Because this is how we discuss progress for students. So emerging is the foundation level, consolidating is working at their year level, proficient means that they are moving to a level of mastery with the knowledge and practices in their particular year teaching sequence statements, and exceeding means they've mastered everything and they're now moving on to the next year. For teachers, we look at these indicators in the middle column, the yellow column, to see where they're at. And for me, when I look at consolidating as an indicator for me as a classroom teacher, are they applying familiar strategies to reinforce their learning with increasing independence? So they know the strategy. Is it familiar to them? Are they applying it? And they're able to apply it in different contexts. And of course, there's support there. There might be models on the wall, visualizations, graphics, diagrams. Do they have checklists that they're referencing in their modeling book to show them what success looks like? Then for whānau, for teachers, as we're talking to whānau and parents, we're thinking, how do I express this in a way which is accessible for parents? And here your child is learning to use helpful techniques on their own to support their learning. That sounds like they're working at the year level and they're using support structures to do well by themselves. So let's have a look at Gemini and how we might build this. So as I click on the button and open it up here, what I want to do is go into Gems. And yours might look a little bit different. So at the bottom of the screen where there's the settings wheel, you may click that and then you would see Gems here in the settings wheel. So what I'm going to do is just make Gemini full screen for you so I'm not in the way. There is a settings wheel at the bottom of the screen. And you can see that down by your name if you're logged in. So here's my name. I've logged in. Here's the settings wheel. I can click that and it says Gem. So I noticed when I was in a school, a great school in Hamilton, Frankton School last week, that their layout didn't show them gems on the left-hand side, but it did show them here. And so that's fantastic that we can recognize Gems is available for teachers, but it might be in different places. So I'm going to click on Gems here from the settings to take me into the Gem Manager. Now that's awesome. If you want more real estate on the screen so you can see more of what you're doing, you just need to click the sidebar button and close the sidebar, and you can then zoom in. So if you're on a Windows machine, you hold down the control button, hit the plus button on the top right of the keyboard. If you're on a Mac or an Apple machine, then you hold down the command button and then hit the plus or the minus on the top of the keyboard to zoom in or zoom out. And the important button here is the new gem button. So we're going to click that to create a new gem. And I'm going to call this the year, what am I going to do? Phase 2, Year 4 Maths Lesson Planner with progress descriptors. And actually what I might do is Year 4 Maths Lesson Explicit Teaching Planner. There we go. That sounds fabulous. Then when I click on the right-hand side of the screen is our preview. We never, ever upload any files into the right-hand side of our screen. Why? Because the next time we use our gem, every time we use it, those files will be there. And we don't want them to be there. We don't want to have any files in here on the right-hand side. But we may upload them to the left-hand side where our instructions are. And we will be doing that. So for now, in the description box, I'm just going to put ... But the thing is, you might have a Year 5 lesson planner, which has files uploaded in there for Gemini to look at. And you might have a Year 6 one, and you might have a Year 4 one. So in the description, you might actually make a copy of the gems, and then you change the description, and you call that the Year 4 one. And another one is the Year 5 one, and another one is the Year 6 one. And generically, we might call this in the name box the Maths Planner. Yeah, makes sense? So I've put ... in the description. You can see that appearing on the right-hand side in the preview area. So down the bottom, if I scroll to the bottom of the left-hand side, there's the knowledge area. I'm going to click on that because I want to upload the reference files. So I want to give it the New Zealand curriculum in mathematics and statistics so it knows what I'm talking about. And then if the teacher forgets to put a sequence statement and just wants a 3-lesson plan on a particular strand like geometry at Year 4 with a particular element like pathways, we could then just tell Gemini and the gem to make a 3-lesson plan. It will do that. But this is a 1-lesson planner. Okay, this is a 1-lesson planner. So I've uploaded the curriculum, and also what I'm going to do is upload this text file that I've got where I copied from Tahurangi for Phase 2 what explicit teaching looks like. Yeah, so I'm uploading a text file which has this content so that my Gemini, my gem, knows what explicit teaching sounds like. Also, I'm going to upload the progress descriptors, which is this file that I showed you before. So here we go. So we've got our 3 reference files, and you can notice that the rich text file, it's got a blue logo, so it's uploaded successfully. In the PDFs, they've got their red logo, so you know that they're uploaded correctly as well. So while we're doing this and making this Gemini gem, we need to make sure that all of these sections on the left-hand side are correctly filled in. That's really important. So we've done the name, we've filled in the description, we've added the files here, and I'm not going to change the default tool because I'm not particularly focused on making videos or images or doing deep research or creating music or guided learning. I'm not doing that. I'm leaving it on the default Gemini brain tool. And now I'm going to add some instructions. So I'll show you what that's going to look like as we do this. So in the instructions box, we're going to use the format that I use across the country, which is the Tell It framework. So if anyone mentions the Tell It framework, yes, I did make that up, and I refined it with teachers all around the country. So I never charge to show the Tell It framework. Wherever I am, I share the Tell It framework with whatever I'm doing, so teachers can use it and structure their AI prompting really effectively. So you can use the Tell It framework when you're using ChatGPT or Claude or Perplexity Computer or Gemini to structure the output really clearly. So here is how we're going to start. Step one is to tell it who it is. You are an expert teacher in New Zealand using the refreshed curriculum for mathematics and statistics. You're teaching a Year 4 class and developing lesson plans for students in a New Zealand classroom. So what I've done is I've given that explanation of telling it who it is. Now I'm going to move to a new line. And because we're in a text box, I can just hit enter and it doesn't start processing because this is a text box. Secondly, after telling it who it is, we're going to tell it what we want. Develop a lesson plan that references the files in the knowledge area. It needs to be an explicit teaching lesson plan. It will be focused on the teaching sequence statement that the user puts into the chat when they use this gem. So the teacher will put in the chat box one teaching sequence statement, and you will design the lesson plan for it that is an explicit teaching lesson plan. Ensure there are hands-on activities for students and options for neurodiverse students, for example, ADHD or dyslexic students. Boom. Now I'm voice typing, so it's quite fast. So here we have it here. So we've told it who it is, we've told it what we want, and now we are going to tell it how we like it, how we want it formatted, and how we want it referenced. Each lesson that you create will use headings and bullet lists and will be 35 minutes long. At the end of the lesson plan, there will be a summary table with resources, materials, and links that are helpful for the teaching sequence statement. Additionally, at the end of the lesson, the progress descriptors will be discussed and identified how the teacher can assess the progress of the students for each of the progress descriptions: emerging, developing, consolidating, proficient, and exceeding. Ensure there are examples of what that looks like for teachers and how it can be described for parents and whānau after a child has finished the lesson. Okay, so tell it who it is, which is here. Tell it what you want, which is this big block here. And tell it how you like it in terms of the formatting, which is here. Notice that we're referencing each of these files, and I've told it to reference the files. And the important thing here is RAG, R-A-G, Retrieval Augmented Generation. So this gem is now going to be ragging. It's going to be looking at the files in the knowledge area. It's not going to be going online to find files that may or may not be true, and it's not going to create content that's suitable maybe in a Canadian context, but not suitable in a New Zealand context. So for us, what we've done now is we've ragged, we've retrieval augmented generated in our instructions so that the lesson plan actually does that. So I've got a heading, I've got a description, I've got instructions, and I've got files. So what I'm going to do is just simply click save. And if we've done everything correctly, and I'm just going to zoom out a little bit for you, what we should see appear on our screen is this message that welcomes us to using our new gem we've created. It says start chat, so we can start using it immediately. And secondly, we can click share. So if we are the teacher in charge of mathematics and we're creating these gems, just like anything in Google Drive, we can click share, create a link that we can share, and other people can use this gem as well. And I really love that Gemini has enabled that for us so that we can create this gem and it will be standardized in terms of instructions and layout and ragging, so that across our school or across our cluster of schools, we've actually got a really consistent, standardized way of producing our lessons. And that's actually really powerful. So what I'm going to do is just close this and bring up the sidebar. And our latest gem that we've made when we click on gem should be actually at the top. And there it is right there. So if we didn't click start chat with the gem straight away and we wanted to chat, it was really saved in our gems. We can see it's here, and all we need to do is click on it. So we can see this share icon here that Google has. We can create the sharing rules and share a link. We can edit it when we think it's creating something we're not happy with. We can go in and modify the instructions. And then with the 3 dots, what we can do is we can chat with it, make a copy of it, like I said before, copy it, and then modify it for year 5 or year 6. Or we can delete it if we don't want to use it anymore. So I'm going to jump in there, click on it, and start using this. And what it's waiting for is that teaching sequence statement from phase 2. So I actually really like geometry. So I'm going to jump into phase 2. And here we are. We've got year 4, 5, and 6 knowledge and practices. I'm going to zoom through and find for me geometry because I really like it. Okay. I'm going to use year 4 because I've called it a year 4. Let's look at the knowledge here. So we've got circles have an infinite number of lines of symmetry. Wow, that's pretty cool. Identifying, classifying, and describing the attributes of irregular polygons up to 12 sides using edges, vertices, and angles. Wow, that sounds exciting. Identifying a number of lines of symmetry in 2D shapes. Oh, I like that one. So we're just going to focus on this one particular teaching sequence statement from the practices area. And knowing that, I'm going to be sharing the knowledge that associates with that from our knowledge area. So I'm assuming that I've already taught the knowledge, discussed the knowledge, we've experienced the knowledge in the classroom. So I'm going to copy this teaching sequence statement and I'm going to drop it in the chat. Now remember, I've already in the instructions behind the gem, I've actually given perspective of who it is. I've told it what I want, told it the formatting that I want, and I've told it to rag and look at those documents. So let's just open it up and process it and see what happens. So it's going to be analyzing and referring to the New Zealand curriculum. Here we go. Identifying the number of lines of symmetry of a 2D shape. So it's picked up on the sequence statement that I pasted. I've got my overall conceptual concepts for knowledge and our procedural. Lovely. I've got a warm-up routine, action, activity, explicit link. Notice it's picking up on the text file drawn from Tahurangi that talks about what explicit teaching looks like. Here we go, explicit teaching and worked examples. Notice that it's using headings and links and bullet lists and numbered lists. It's very well structured. Step-by-step breakdown. So this is very explicit, introducing the terminology. We're doing a hands-on activity. And we've got options for neurodiverse students. That's brilliant. So it's doing what I asked it to do. Let's scroll down past the lesson to the end here and look and see. Okay, so it's got an exit ticket. That's a nice ending. It's got my list. It hasn't got links, but it's certainly got resources and materials I might need. Okay, here we go. Now it's ragging the progress descriptors, telling me what it looks like. Let's read this. The student struggles to fold shapes accurately or identify lines of symmetry independently. Now that sounds like emerging because emerging needs a lot of prompting and support. They require step-by-step adult guidance to see that a folded shape matches, or they might draw an arbitrary line across a shape that do not form mirror halves. So not only might that be an adult, that might be a tuakana and a tainer, that might be a student who's guiding them as they are the mentee that's being guided. How to describe this, Stefani? Your child is beginning to look at how shapes can be folded into matching halves with a lot of support. They are learning to spot simple lines of symmetry using real objects and mirrors. Brilliant. So we've got an indicator for teachers and a description for parents, and we've got it for each of the progress descriptors. And it's referencing the teaching sequence statement, which is the focus of this actual lesson. Pretty happy with that. So what I will do for you is in the description, I'll put the prompt that I used with this YouTube video. So I'll put the prompt in there, and I'll also give you the links to Tahurangi, where I copied the different the description of what explicit teaching looks like for the phase. I'll give you the link to the maths curriculum as well from Tahurangi rather than my Google Drive. And I'll give you the link also to the progress descriptors, probably from my Google Drive, so you can download it as well. So you'll get the prompt and you'll get the files and you'll be able to create something similar like this if you're in New Zealand working with the refreshed curriculum. And from this year, we need to be using the progress descriptors to describe progress for our students. So why is this important? Right from planning our lesson, we're thinking about what does progress look like? How do we identify it? And how do we describe it for parents and whānau? And we're using the explicit teaching approach, which is one of our big 4 in the New Zealand curriculum. Thanks very much for being with me and watching this. Remember, subscribe and like so you get the latest videos. That'll really help this video to be reached by more people. And reach out to us at Summit Institute if you want training and assessment or in mathematics. I do contract for the Ministry of Education for that. And then also from Summit Institute if you're interested in AI and leveling up your AI game and getting NZQA approved micro-credentials around that. Thanks for being with me.